was born in Bethlehem. Love was born for all mankind. Love was born on Christmas Day. Love is here to stay. Oh, love is here to stay.
Past the moon and planets, tucked many light years away behind the brightest of stars, rests a tiny little speck of light. Suspended in space for many, many years, it waits for someone on Earth to gaze upon it. Because of all the city lights that reflect off the night sky, this star can hardly be seen at all. However, once a year, this star can be seen by any curious eyes that scan the skies of the darkest night. This star has been given a special gift to share. It is a Christmas wishing star. The frost on the living room window was getting thicker as Tommy pressed his face against it. He was sitting on a wooden chair that his father had made last summer in the workshop in the barn. "Tommy," a voice whispered from a distance. Then after a brief moment, it repeated much louder, "Tommy, come back to planet Earth." Tommy turned to see his older brother Jacob standing a few feet away from him. He was leaning against the doorway to their little bedroom. Being 12 years old had its advantages for Jacob. The brothers were good friends, but sometimes Jacob could get a little bossy, especially when he got to choose the top bunk bed. "You know Mama's gonna make you clean those smudges off the glass tomorrow," Jacob said, rubbing the melted frost off his nose. And Tommy replied, "Well, it's almost Christmas. We won't have time to do chores." Jacob sighed and thought, "Well, we'll have more time than you think." And then he turned and went back into the bedroom, and he whispered loudly, "You better get back in bed. You don't want to wake up Mama and Papa." Jacob knew that his parents were hard workers, but things were very tough around the house financially. His mother was a seamstress who did odd and end sewing jobs to help with the household expenses. His father was a carpenter and had seasonal jobs, but his true gifting was handcrafting delicate boxes. In fact, the workshop had been very busy this time of year because of Christmas. Tommy gazed out the window again, looking past the barn towards the moonlit field. He noticed the workshop light was on. His father must be working late again, even on Christmas Eve, he thought. Earlier in the evening, his family had attended a special service at their church. Tommy smiled as he remembered his role as one of the wise men who followed the star to Bethlehem. He got to wear a purple striped bedsheet as a robe and a yellow bath towel wrapped around his head. He laughed as he recalled his brother playing the role of Joseph, sporting his painted on beard. To Tommy, he looked more like a hobo than a Joseph. His little sister Gabby played exactly the part of her name, Gabriel the angel. She had practiced her lines so many times that Tommy had them memorized. She was supposed to quote a line from the Bible. "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news of great joy that will be for all people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is Christ the Lord. This will be a sign to you. You will find a baby wrapped in cloths, lying in a manger." But instead, she got the words turned around and mixed up. She ended up saying, "Don't be scared. I'm just an angel. I won't hurt you. I'm only 6. And there's a baby doll. He's Jesus. He's in a manger that my papa built in his workshop, wrapped in clothes that my mama sewed. And he's right over there next to my brother." Then she pointed to the stable scene on the other side of the stage. Jacob rolled his eyes and shook his head at Gabby. The entire church roared with laughter. Tommy remembered his face turning hot with embarrassment as he watched from behind the curtain. "Oh, little sisters," he thought, and grinned as he looked up to the stars. He rubbed the frost from the window again to get a better look at the night sky. Suddenly, a tiny twinkling light caught his attention. It was a little star. Tommy sighed and made a wish for his family. I wish, he whispered and hesitated, I wish this Christmas would be the best one ever, one that we'll never forget. And oh yeah, I'd like a pair of ice skates. He turned and looked at the little Christmas tree in the corner of the living room. His family had found it the other day just past the creek beyond the field. Jacob wanted to cut the biggest tree in the forest, but their father said they had to get one that would fit inside the house. When they got home, the kids went to work on the tree. Gabby had cut out yellow angels and placed them carefully around the middle and bottom sections of the tree. Tommy and Jacob strung up popcorn strings, and their mother found holly berries and placed them all over the tree. It was small in size, though Tommy looked upon it with pride and excitement. Suddenly, the front door opened, startling him from his thoughts. The winter wind raced in with his father. Tommy, what are you doing up so late? He asked, surprised to see his son by the window. Oh, just daydreaming, or night dreaming, or what would you call it at night? He asked. His father chuckled and responded, well, how about just a good old-fashioned prayer? And suggested a good night prayer, that is. Smiling, he ruffled up Tommy's hair. Tommy got the hint, so he walked towards the door of his bedroom. And before he entered the doorway, he turned and said, Papa? Yes, son, came the reply. Merry Christmas. Tommy smiled. And as he closed the door, he heard his father say, Merry Christmas to you, son. Good night. Tommy's father walked to the window and looked at the little smudges on the glass. He placed his worn hands on the smears, then looked up into the night sky. An almost hush-whispered prayer fell from his lips. I want my family to know the true meaning of Christmas. We need a miracle. He glanced over at the little tree and gently smiled at the handiwork of his children before walking to the back of the house towards his bedroom. Tommy's pillow was so soft and fluffy. It was only a matter of minutes before he was asleep. He began dreaming that he was running through a field of peppermint sticks lined with huge trees. And the trees were deep green with leaves that looked like colorful ribbons sprouting all over. And as the dream continued, Tommy looked up and noticed the sky was filled with brilliant stars. Although it seemed that it was daytime, the night was in a full nighttime chorus. Brilliant stars were singing out songs of Christmas, and the melody sounded familiar. A gentle wind carried the aroma of peppermint mixed with gingerbread to Tommy's nose. It lifted him up as if he were floating, and then carried Tommy's mind back to his little bottom bunk. And while he slept, the star that he'd wished upon began getting brighter and brighter throughout the cold night. At one point in time, the brightness lit up the living room as if a silent mini supernova had exploded. The brilliant light disappeared as quickly as it came. The Christmas morning sunshine spilled onto the floor of Tommy's bedroom. The house was quiet while everyone slept, and the dream of peppermint fields floated in his mind as Tommy woke up gradually. What an awesome dream, he thought. I can still smell peppermint, he said out loud. He jumped out of bed and looked out the window. A huge grin came over his sleepy face. A white blanket of snow covered the ground. And Tommy shouted out loud, Snow! His voice was loud enough to wake up the whole house. Jacob sat up in his bed. Snow? Great, he exclaimed, and then jumped down to the floor. Tommy raced to the door and swung it open. He stopped, breathless and shocked as he looked at the tree in the corner of the living room. Somehow, the same tiny tree looked 10 times bigger than it did the night before, as if it towered over the room. And a gold star sat on top, as if an angel had flown to the ceiling and gently placed it there. It reflected 1,000,000 tiny lights all over the room as brilliant sunshine filtered in through the windows. Mixed in with the handmade ornaments were ceramic angels, each painted with beautiful detailing. The popcorn strings were braided with gold and red tinsel, and peppermint candy canes delicately hung upon each branch along the holly berries. The house smelled absolutely delicious. All the commotion brought the entire family to the enchanted scene in the living room. Gabby squealed with delight. Jacob said, Mama, Papa, someone broke into our house and left some stuff. My wish, Tommy shouted and ran to the boxes underneath the tree. Jacob was already opening the box with his name on it. A funny sound came from within. He looked over at his brother with a concerned face and then popped the box lid off. Out jumped a soft yellow puppy with the darkest droopy eyes. Jacob couldn't grab her fast enough to snuggle her up to his neck. Gabby squealed again as she opened her box. Dollies, she sang. She carefully brought out 2 handmade dolls with clothes that were carefully sewn together. Gabby was so excited. She told her new dollies to wait a second as she ran to her tiny little bedroom, only to return moments later with her other dolly. She introduced her dollies to each other and drifted off into her dolly make-believe world. Tommy's mother opened her gift to find a handcrafted jewelry box. She squealed just like Gabby. The entire family laughed at her excitement. They had never heard her squeal like that before. With a twinkle in his eyes, Tommy's father picked up a small red box with a blue ribbon on it. He shook it a little. I don't know what it could be, his father said. After carefully unwrapping the gift, he lifted a gold pocket watch out of the box. The sunlight reflected off of it as it spun beneath the gold chain. Tommy's father opened the watch and read the engraving. Love is the greatest gift. Tommy saw his father glance over at his mother with a questioning look on his face. The look on his father's face made Tommy grin. And in fact, the smiles on the faces of his entire family made his face feel like it was going to break. Tommy thought, I guess seeing my wish come true is my gift. Though for a 9-year-old boy, a wrapped gift under the tree would make this an even more unforgettable Christmas. Gabby spotted it first. Blocked from Tommy's view was a medium-sized box sitting behind the tree. Jacob reached around and handed it to him. Here, he said, it's probably a box of glass cleaner and a rag. Jacob grinned as his puppy jumped upon his lap and began licking his face. Noel, no, he exclaimed. Not my face. Falling backwards, he belly laughed while his puppy climbed upon him to finish the job. Tommy tried to open his present very slowly. The anticipation was grabbing him in the throat as he could feel his heart beating faster and faster. He gulped. Although it was tempting, Tommy was determined not to squeal like his mother and baby sister. What could it be? His mind shouted. Finally, he tore into the paper and opened the lid to look inside. He could hardly believe his eyes. It was a pair of ice skates, just like the ones he'd wished for last winter. He immediately began to put them on his feet. His mother smiled at the excitement, but firmly said, Tommy, you cannot wear them in the house. All of a sudden, they heard the sound of the back door closing. Tommy's mother went into the kitchen and squealed again, and Tommy wondered if all the squealing was going to become a habit with his sister and his mother. They all ran in behind her to find the kitchen table was spread out with all sorts of delightful foods. Wonderful breads, jams, butter, fruit, ham, sausages, and muffins, along with pitchers full of milk and juices, were set out with their best china. Looks like they left some stuff in here too, said Jacob. In the excitement, all the gifts were left around the tree, with the exception of Noel, who was trying to climb up Jacob's leg. The family gathered together in a group hug, and as they took turns sharing how thankful they were for this special Christmas, teardrops fell on Tommy's shoes as he looked to see tears of joy in his mother's eyes. There they all were, holding each other in the kitchen, not because of the gifts or because of the food. It was because of the love they had for each other. This love was holding them there in a family circle. Tommy's father quoted from his pocket watch, "Love is the greatest gift." And then, like an aroma drifting in from an oven of baking cookies, it hit Tommy. He remembered his wish. It had come true. This was the best Christmas ever, one that he and his family would never forget. High above the little farmhouse, onward and through the gathering winter cloud line, up and out past the atmosphere of the earth, and even beyond the galaxy, was the place where the wishing star had rested. Tommy realized that the best Christmas ever wasn't finding a pair of ice skates under the tree. Instead, it was the love that he found in his heart that Christmas morning. The wishing star had fulfilled its purpose when it shone its light upon Tommy's family on that Christmas Eve. And that Christmas night, a new star rested in its place, twinkling, waiting with anticipation to fulfill its purpose in creation to grant another wish. Truly, love is the greatest gift.